to the number 1 pick. No surprise here. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, Indiana, to the Las Vegas Raiders. Not going to go into this in too much detail. Heisman Trophy winner, national champion. This is a solidified number 1 pick. It's going to happen. Number 2, we have New York Jets taking Arvell Reese, edge out of Ohio State. Not exactly a shock. No surprise here with this one. We had a little bit of a debate about this last week with Daniel Jeremiah about, about is it the correct pick for the Jets? Are we worried about Reese going to the Jets? Same things probably apply here. I've heard more about the Micah Parsons comparison. It says here as well, Reese reminds me of star edge rusher Micah Parsons since the fall. He's a sensational player. I know he's just scratching the surface. Are the Micah Parsons comparisons fair? Or is that maybe giving him too much hype in a way? Because we know what Micah Parsons has become. And is it a bit of a danger factor for people thinking, if the Jets fans getting him thinking, oh, well, we've got Micah Parsons now, I
was going to say, it feels a little lofty to compare him to Parsons. But then maybe that's because it's... maybe I'm thinking of Parsons as now rather than when Parsons came out. I don't know. Andrew would probably know more on that one.
The hype behind it is real in terms of he can be. I think that's one of those things of saying what he can be if he lives up to expectation. And I think the talent that is there and what we've seen from him at Ohio State is he can be as good as Micah Parsons. That's his skill set, and that's his sort of like ceiling and above sort of thing. So I think that's what we're kind of saying with this guy. He can be the next Micah Parsons. And I don't think that's over realistic either. So yeah, just Micah Parsons for me had more time playing at edge than Reese did. But as he says, he's only scratching the surface of what he can do at edge. And he was fantastic. So played a bit more linebacker than he has edge rusher.
Was it Jeremiah that had Reuben Bain?
No, they both went with. Okay. I think they did in his first one, but not his third one.
Okay.
Klatt is holding him very high esteem. He says here, I believe he could be a defensive player of the year candidate early in his career, which is a massive big up to him. Number 3, Arizona Cardinals taking David Bailey, edge from Texas Tech. A player that I said in our last mock to mock has gone from being like a mid-20s guy in January to like now a top 3 pick in some people's eyes. And I think, I don't remember if I say this in Darren Jeremiah one, but it seems to me when I've been listening to all these analysts and NFL people and people who are doing mocks, that NFL organizations are more in on David Bailey than like the consensus fan or YouTuber or analyst, and that they see more about David Bailey than people outside of that sphere do.
It's traits versus productivity again, isn't it? I mean, he was productive as well, so that's not quite the fact here. But when we get to draft season, the NFL are looking at traits. It's why it pushes people higher. We've seen the players like Bain, who we'll talk about later, who, the traits that he possesses are not the productivity's there, and he was absolutely amazing. But they're looking for this next gen NFL type player, and I think that's why Bailey's being pushed higher than some of the others, and he's risen above on boards.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to quickly say it is difficult because obviously we had the whole thing, didn't we, last year with Stewart, the edge rusher, and how he was incredibly sort of like traits based, but didn't really have much in the way of productivity. And I know obviously there were some other issues regarding him and the fact that he missed most of the off season, but it did kind of feel like at no point did he ever really get going in his rookie year. And I think the thing that people need to remember when it comes to Bailey is that although he is a very sort of traits like player, there is productivity there, like Andrew said. So that's the real sort of bonus for him, and that's why he should be up around this sort of position.
On to number 4, Tennessee Titans taking Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. It says here, we've honed in on a positional value come draft time over the past few years and how much we should value running backs, but we've seen Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs shine in the NFL after being taken early in the first round of the draft. It is, I mean, Saquon went at 3, and then we didn't really see it for a minute. And then it sort of became a bit more trendy again, because then it was a bit like, oh, well, you don't really need to pay, teams started to not pay their running back and moved on from quite quickly. And then that sort of reinvigorated then running backs taking a bit higher up because teams were moving off of their running back. And now we've seen it quite consistently where in the top 10 of running back has gone, like I said, in Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, at the time, Jahmyr Gibbs was seen as a reach by the Detroit Lions at 10, 9 was it? From what I remember. I mean, names like that, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, fair comparisons for this guy. Again, I feel like what we said about Arvell Reese with the Micah Parsons hype is Love. Well, the broad question of this is Jeremiah Love generational?
Well, he's blue chip, isn't he? So when that's what you're looking at in this, and there's not many blue chip players within this draft, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The wide receivers are very talented and very good, but this is a blue chip player. They need offense, and that's why he's going to be hailed as a top 5 pick, I'm guessing, because they need an offensive pick, and he is the best offensive player in this draft.
I mean, I think if you like him, then you're going to go for it. I just, again, I will say the same thing. I don't particularly like it at that place. I just think it's too expensive. I do feel that potentially the Titans could be a trade down candidate. Someone might come up for him and they might come down. I get that the argument is that their running backs are not great. I understand that, but I feel like the most important thing for them is protecting Cam Ward. And so like that you could trade down and go for an O-line guy. But if you're going to pick up 4 and you feel like you really need it, I'm not against it. I just think it's expensive for a running back.
On to number 5, and that is Andrew's New York Giants taking Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. He says here, I want to give the Giants Caleb Downs, who is the safety out of Ohio State, for people who don't know. I think Downs is perfect for Coach John Harbaugh and fits the mold of all those smart, versatile safeties he had when he was the Ravens head coach. But he hasn't gone that way. He's going for another pass catcher for the quarterback, Jackson Dart. Some might debate Mekhi Lemon as a better receiver than Tate, but I think Tate is the better fit for the Giants offense. We saw in Daniel Jeremiah's Carnell Tate go into number 6, the Cleveland Browns. Don't remember who. I think they took Sonny Styles, didn't they?
Yeah.
Every mock I'm seeing, it's Sonny Styles or Carnell Tate here for the most part. Oh, and Caleb Downs actually. A few mocks I've seen Caleb Downs, come to think of it. I mean, would you be happy with this at 5, Andrew?
Yeah, as I said, if we take an Ohio State player at 5, then we've nailed it, haven't we? I don't think you can go wrong with any of those 3. I think we have got 2 really good safeties in Holland and Nubin, so I don't think it's necessarily a desperate need to go for a safety and Downs, despite the fact he's possibly the best player in the draft. So I do see the need, and like you said, the compliment that Tate will give Neighbors is perfect. It's fit here, isn't it? And he will play and complement it really, really well. So I'm happy. I've always been happy with Tate at this pick. It's what I would do if I was the general manager. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you went. The only thing that sort of pushes me in the way of this is you did go out and get some wide receiver pieces in the free agency. I know they're not Carnell Tate. I know the age isn't on their side. I get that. But it maybe feels like a hat and a hat situation when, when maybe you could wait, have a top 10 pick next year if you feel that way. But a lot of people think the Giants may get to even the playoffs this season. I think there's a potential that you might push for that. So is it worth getting that young offensive talent now, I suppose, rather than waiting for a draft. It's going to be a lot more stacked with offensive talent, and you get a talent down the board. And maybe here you could go with, Caleb Downs' generation in some people's eyes, as well as a player that in that position. You said it yourself last week that Ohio State built their defense around Caleb Downs, and maybe an NFL team might do that as well. I don't know, but let's go
just quickly on it. I just sort of thought of something. Should we not be expecting the Giants to actually go defense? I know that they've got a good defense already. It's on paper, and we feel that it's done well. But with John Harbaugh there, the way that he's set up that team in Baltimore over the years, wide receiver has never really felt like a massive priority. And when you've already got Malik Neighbors there, it does kind of make you feel like that's not the angle that they're going to go down. So therefore, it kind of feels like either you could go O-line, but I don't think he would at that pick. I kind of feel like if he has any sort of say in it, is he not going to go for someone like Downs or Styles? Probably more Downs would make more sense to me for what's there. And it just kind of feels like, yeah, okay, I've got no problem with them taking a wide receiver if they want, but it does feel a little bit going against what Harbaugh has done over the years in Baltimore.
Yeah, I think the Sonny Styles pick is probably more realistic in terms
what
of
he would want.
It's a need because we've lost Bobby Okereke, and also talking about versatility. Sonny Styles used to play safety, so if that's the case, then you can move him around a little bit. I do think obviously Downs, like you say, is generational, so he might just go, do you know what? It's a luxury pick here. I'll take best player available. Like I said, I don't think you can go wrong if you pick one of the three. I think I don't have any preference in terms of being upset about that. I have what I would pick if I was GM, but you pick any of those three, I'm a happy fan.
On to Cleveland with taking Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Does say in the comments here that, maybe not the best tackle in this draft, but does have experience at left tackle, and that is what they need, is left tackle. The other guys, Francis Mariano and Spencer Fano, maybe better prospects, but do play right tackle. Wouldn't there be that transition there? They go Monroe Freeling again, a player that has crept up the mock draft boards I've seen everywhere. They're building the O-line to protect what they hope is Shedeur Sanders for their future, isn't it? I think it's a smart move by Cleveland here, Andrew.
No, I think this is the wrong way round. Okay. They've brought in a lot of O-line guys in free agency, haven't they? They brought in Zion Johnson, Jenkins, Titus Howard at right tackle. I do really like DeJuan Jones. DeJuan Jones' rookie year was fantastic. He did have his second year wasn't as good. They brought back Tevin Jenkins. And I said it last week with Daniel Jeremiah's because I think he got it the right way round. I think the talent is better at wide receiver here than it is later on in the draft. So I do agree that they need wide receiver and tackle or O-line. I would just do it the other way around because I think the value is better. And I think that, as we can see with a lot of Joel Klatt when he does them, he picks who he thinks that team should go for rather than what he thinks that might happen in the NFL. And he's picked Monroe Freeling because he plays left tackle, and left tackle is where he thinks that the hole is, over talent, which I can't see happening in the actual draft itself. I think you got to go with value at position, and this is a bit of a reach for me.
We should also note while we're on it that this was published March 16th or 17th, I believe. So any moves that have happened post then, which hasn't been many, admittedly, have probably not been caught on this. But thank you, Andrew, for elaborating on Klatt's picks as well. Number 7, the Washington Commanders take a Ohio State linebacker, Sonny Styles. I'm now getting into more of the camp where Commanders, it just needs to be BPA. I think it's just whatever falls to them. They need to go best player available here. I think they're a little bit more holy than we realize, and so maybe people realize, I suppose, because I think some people are just be like, oh, well, get Jay Daniels a full healthy year next year. They don't have as many injuries, etc., etc. They got to that NFC Championship game. Like, I think they've they've got a fair bit they need to build on this Commanders team. Adam, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've brought in a lot of players, haven't they, through free agency, and they have spent quite a bit on the defense. But yeah, I think it's the right. Look, I'm not against it. I think it is probably the best player available. To me, it's that or it's O-line. It really is a matter of, because the O-line is basically designed to try and keep Jaden Daniels upright, which is obviously a big issue for him. But when you've got the sort of talent of Sonny Styles there, you've got, if you went Caleb Downs again, I wouldn't be overly surprised. They have brought in linebackers, they have brought in safeties. They didn't really bring anything in on the O-line, but I kind of feel like the O-line's not that bad.
Their O-line's young as well, isn't it? They bought Josh
yeah,
Connolly
exactly. It's got
year.
Josh Conley
We
there.
rated
I mean,
Connolly quite a bit.
You wouldn't think wide receiver here, maybe?
Yes, that's where I'd go. I think the value at wide receivers there.
Because Terry McLaurin and
they've got a desperate need at wide receiver. They've got.
I don't think the wide receivers are as talented as Styles or Downs.
No, I agree with that. I just think long-term future as well. If Jaden Daniels, eventually you're going to have to pay him in a few years' time, and you're going to waste his cheaper years if you're not supporting him on offense. So your Super Bowl window is going to close pretty quickly once you pay him. Yet those years you're going to surround him with Treylon Burks and Luke McCaffrey. That just seems defeats
the Army Brown. Don't be rude about it.
And Van Jefferson.
No, I mean, I get what you mean. I just think that I think to a certain extent you've got to go for the best player that's there.
Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC, going to the New Orleans Saints at pick 8. Just as we were saying, the Commander should have gone wide receiver. I'm fine with this. I'm really fine with this. I think I just think the Saints are building. They're building something, and I sort of trust their process. So if this was the pick for them, I think I'd be quite bullish with it as a Saints fan. If this was their pick, I'd be very happy with this. Give Shook a bit more to deal with. Good player. If he has a great first year, great second year, you can move off of Chris Olave in their brain, probably, who gets more expensive and more.
I think, well, there's lots of talks, isn't there, that they're talking about an extension for Chris Olave, aren't they? Currently, obviously they are pick 42 in round 2. So in terms of value, they need help at edge rusher and that front 7 for me. I've got no issue with them taking a wide receiver because the value is there. It's just what's available. Top of the second is there. I think there's still wide receivers available there that would complement Olave because Olave is fantastic. So I don't think they're desperate for a wide receiver. So, if a Denzel Boston or someone like that drops out first, they'll get them. So I think you could taking one of the best edge rushers, because we've only had 2 go so far, I think is probably more sensible at this pick.
Yeah, I feel the fact that Reuben Bain hasn't gone is a little surprising. I think that would have been the one that would have made sense for them, given that who's got Reese has gone and Bailey's gone. So yeah, I think Reuben Bain would have made sense for me. But yeah, it's not a bad idea. Going for Lemon, it's just not quite. Feels a little bit round the wrong way.
Number 9, Mansour Delane from LSU, the cornerback going to the Kansas City Chiefs. We talked about this in Darren Jeremiah's one. We're talking about it in Joel Klatt's one, and because they need cornerback. I don't think they did in Jeremiah's mock, but he's gone that way, as he stated in the blurb below. Is traded Trent McDuffie, lost Jalen Watson in free agency. No cornerback has gone yet. You're gonna get a stud corner here. You're gonna get the best, in their mind, the best corner in the draft anyway. In their mind, it might not be to everybody, but he's a top player.
No-brainer pick for me. This is what we said with Jeremiah. He missed the trick here, not taking the first cornerback off the board.
And then to round out the top 10, Reuben Bain, as you just mentioned a moment ago, going to the Cincinnati Bengals at 10 out of Miami. Yes, they gave Boye Mafe a load of money, got rid of Trey Hendrickson. I think this was the Caleb Downs pick. I think for Daniel Jeremiah's, I'm fine with this. I do think it's a need. I'm not entirely convinced Boye Maffei's all that worth it for me. And you get a young guy that you can fall back on just in case. I'm fine with this.
I think it's a position that they can strengthen at. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally prefer Downs. In fact, to be honest, I can't believe that Downs isn't in the top 10. I know he's a safety. I know people will say position, but I just think it's...
Well, while we're on that, how are you two feeling about his top 10?
I think there's a few reaches in it, but you're, like I say, you're always going to get reaches in Joel Klatt because he does it based on what he thinks the team should pick, rather than actually what will happen in the NFL. So I think there is a few reaches in there, but
I think the positions are wrong.
Yeah.
Like the Giants, I mean, you can go wide receiver. I'm not against it. I just don't think that I would do it. I think I would go more for the players. I think that for the Browns, he's got an O-line, which I think we were saying wide receiver, and also the wrong O-line guy. Personally, I know I can understand his logic, but the wrong one for me. Commanders linebacker, you were saying you felt wide receiver made more sense. Saints wide receiver, we're saying edge felt like more sense. Yeah, I mean, Bain is going to be a really good edge rusher, and the Bengals there's no downside to having, more than a couple of good edge rushers. It's only a good thing. It kind of feels like the Bengals defense, you could kind of go anywhere, and the fact that you've got the guy that Andrew says arguably the best player in the draft, he hasn't gone in the top 10.
Well, this defense is that bad that they're in a position now to go, we can build a defense around a player. So, and they don't have strength at safety. So I think this is the perfect spot for him to go. Obviously, they got Shamar Stewart, they brought in Boye Maffei. So they've got two younger, talented edge rushers. Yes, I do think they need more help at that position. But I think they're in a position to say, let's bring in Caleb Downs and build around him. I think that's where they should be. But as long as they go defense, then I think that they're in the right direction.